James Howlett. Wolverine's the walking wound of the Marvel Universe. Bleeding loss, rage, and memory in every page. Born James Howlett into a wealthy Canadian family in the late 1800s, he's learned too young that blood ties don't always bind. In origin, his mutant claws first burst forth not in triumph, but in grief, after witnessing a murder that unraveled everything he believed about his family. Orphaned, outcast, and renamed Logan, he fled into the wilderness, setting the tone for a life defined by exile and survival. Then came Weapon X, the ultimate crucible. In an effort to manufacture the perfect killer, the program ripped away his memories, laced his bones with adamantium, and reduced him to a little more than a snarling experiment. He was tortured, manipulated, and deployed. His humanity a footnote to his lethality. And when he finally broke free, the world kept taking. War stole his comrades, the X-Men gave him hope, only for fate to snatch away lovers like Mariko, Jean Grey, and countless others. Even his healing factor couldn't repair a heart that's been broken for over a century. Wolverine's tragedy is that he never chose the pain, but he owns every scar. He's a man cursed to remember flashes of the past, yet never hold onto the peace it once offered. He fights not to win, but to atone, clawing toward humanity, no matter how often it slips through his fingers. Wanda Maximoff. Wanda Maximoff's life is a spell of sorrow cast in crimson and grief. Born atop the mystic slopes of Mount Wudagore, she was warped by the High Evolutionary's experiments, then manipulated into Magneto's brotherhood alongside her twin brother Pietro. For years, Wanda believed she was a mutant daughter of the Master of Magnetism, only to learn she was never his child. Never even a mutant, just a pawn bred for chaos. Her every identity, daughter, avenger, mother, was a mirage waiting to collapse. Tragedy struck hardest in House of M, when Wakanda, broken by the erasure of her magically conceived sons, warped all reality into a dream world, then undid it with 3 infamous words: no more mutants. Overnight, 986,000 mutants lost their powers, entire species erased, friends depowered, and Wanda, the accidental architect of mass extinction, was left drowning in guilt and psychic rubble. Her penance was obliteration. Reputation ruined, power stripped, legacy stained. She vanished from the Avengers, exiled by both mutant kind and the magical community. And yet, she bore it. No megalomaniac speech, no throne, just silence, sorrow, and the echoes of children she once imagined into being. Wanda's tragedy is cosmic and intimate. A woman who could reshape universes but not survive her own heartbreak. She's not a villain. She's not a hero. She's something rarer. A myth who mourns. Cassandra Kane. Cassandra Kane's story is what happens when nurture is weaponized into cruelty. Raised from infancy by assassin David Kane to become the ultimate killer, she was never taught words, only violence. Every twitch, breath, heartbeat became part of her training. When she killed for the first time at age 8 and felt her victim's dying thoughts, it shattered her. Not because she was heartless, but because she wasn't. That moment turned a living weapon into a runaway soul looking for redemption. Adopting the mantle of Batgirl during Gotham's No Man's Land, Cassandra found purpose, but not peace. She saved lives with fists forged in trauma, navigating a world she could read perfectly in motion, but barely understood in language. Speech came slowly, trust even slower. She sacrificed connection for control, choosing isolation over the risk of harming others. Every new identity, Black Bat, Orphan, was another mask over the scars of her past, another layer of guilt she wore like armor. Cassandra Kane is tragedy carved in silence. Her greatest enemy was never the Joker or Lady Shiva. It was the fear that she'd never be anything more than what her father made her. And yet, she became something more. Not just a hero, but a choice, made every day not to be a monster. That's the kind of strength no training can teach. Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock never had a chance at a normal life, just a never-ending crucifixion in red. Born into hardship, his mother abandoned him as an infant, trading motherhood for a covenant, and leaving Matt with only his boxer father battling Jack Murdoch. But love in Hell's Kitchen comes with a timer. When Matt was 8, he saved a stranger from a truck carrying a radioactive waste, sacrificing his sight and gaining superhuman senses in return. Just as he adapted, the mob murdered Jack for refusing to throw a fight, leaving Matt blind, orphaned, and seething for justice. That justice came at a price. Trained by the ninja master's stick, Matt gave up his childhood for discipline, grief for motivation. As Daredevil, he lived a double life. Lawyer by day, vigilante by night. Every relationship buckled under the strain. Elektra turned assassin. Karen Page betrayed his identity for a drug fix. Foggy, his best friend, watched Matt spiral repeatedly into self-destruction. It all unraveled in Shadowland, where Daredevil took over the hand, an ancient ninja cult, and became what he hated: judge, executioner, and nearly a killer of his closest friends. Possessed by darkness, literally, he had to die again just to redeem himself. Matt Murdock's tragedy isn't in falling down. It's in how often he crawls back up knowing it will happen again. He's the man without fear because he's already lost everything: his sight, his family, his peace, and keeps fighting anyway. In the Church of Pain, Daredevil is both sinner and saint. Al Simmons. Al Simmons' tragedy is carved in fire, betrayal, and eternal regret. Once the U.S. government's most elite assassin, Simmons lived by shadow rules: loyalty, precision, secrecy. But in Spawn number 1, loyalty proved fatal. Betrayed by his partner Chapel and burned alive on the orders of Jason Wynn, Simmons died screaming in the Botswana sun, his soul flung straight to hell. There, stripped of everything, his face, name, and peace, he struck a bargain with the devil Malibaliga to return. His price? Eternal servitude as Spawn. Back on Earth, Al found a nightmare waiting. 5 years had passed. His wife Wanda had remarried, ironically, to his best friend Terry. His memories were in tatters. His skin, a ruin of corpse flesh wrapped in necroplasm and hell-forged chains. Every power he used for justice came with a cost. The more he fought, the faster he burned through his finite essence. And when he finally realized he was just a pawn in hell's war against heaven, even vengeance turned to ash in his mouth. Spawn isn't a redemption story. It's a curse with a cape. Al Simmons gave everything: his life, soul, and love to fight a war he didn't understand, for a world that moved on without him. Now, he walks alone, a demon in a shroud, saving the innocent not for glory, but despite the damnation he can't escape. Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy wasn't just Peter Parker's first love. She was his first great failure. A science whiz with wit, grace, and a stubborn streak that matched Peter's, Gwen brought light into his life during the darkest years of masked responsibility. She was no damsel, just a woman who happened to fall in love with a man who was always one lie away from disappearing into the night. But in The Amazing Spider-Man number 121, everything broke. The Green Goblin, at his most sadistic, threw Gwen from the George Washington Bridge. Peter, desperate, fired a web line to catch her. He succeeded, but physics didn't care. The sudden stop broke her neck. Gwen died not because Peter failed to try, but because he tried, and it wasn't enough. That's the tragedy. Peter killed her by saving her. Intentions pure, outcome fatal. Gwen sacrificed the ordinary for a love that was never safe. She endured Peter's disappearances, worried over his bruises, and trusted him without knowing the cost. Her death wasn't noble. It wasn't fair. It was violent, fast, and devastating, just like the lives of those who orbit superheroes. Her death marked the end of comics' Silver Age optimism. From that point on, Peter Parker wasn't just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He was a man haunted by the echo of a snap, a body cradled in disbelief, and a question he can never stop asking: what if I had caught her differently? Gwen Stacy didn't die because she was weak. She died because she loved a hero, and the world doesn't let that end well. Peter Parker. Peter Parker is the human face of heroism, scarred by loss, held together by guilt, and swinging forward anyway. Orphaned at 4, raised by Aunt May and Uncle Ben, then, in Amazing Fantasy number 15, he let a petty cook escape out of pride, only to learn that that same man murders Uncle Ben. That's Peter's origin story. Not radioactive powers, but a mistake that will haunt him forever. And fate wasn't done twisting the knife. In Amazing Spider-Man number 121, as I mentioned earlier, Peter also tragically lost his first love, Gwen Stacy, as she got hurled from a bridge by the Green Goblin. She dies in his arms. Another person gone. Another scar under the mask. Peter Parker never got to be just a kid. Every school dance, date, and dinner was interrupted by sirens or supervillains. And when Aunt May was shot in One More Day, Peter and Mary Jane struck a deal with Mephisto to save her at the cost of their marriage and everyone's memory of his identity. He literally sacrificed his future to fix the past. He loses more than he wins. Gwen, Harry, his marriage, sometimes even his sense of self. But Peter keeps going, not because he wants glory, but because he can't let anyone else suffer the way he did. Spider-Man's true superpower isn't strength or speed. It's resilience. He's the hero who bleeds, cries, and loses everything, and still shows up. Always. Because when you're Peter Parker, saving the day means breaking your own heart. Every single time. Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon wasn't just Batgirl. She was Gotham's brightest spark in a city addicted to shadows. Acrobat, genius, and daughter of Commissioner Gordon, she balanced brilliance with bravery. But then came the killing joke, and everything broke. One knock at the door, one bullet through the spine, and Barbara's entire world unraveled. She wasn't even Batgirl at the time, just collateral damage in the Joker's twisted game to prove that madness is one bad day away. The physical wounds were immediate. The psychological ones were deeper. Paraplegic overnight, Barbara woke each day to a body that no longer answered to her. Her trauma didn't end with immobility. It haunted her with flashbacks, anxiety, and the crushing weight of feeling powerless. Her identity, once rooted in motion, agency, and action, was shattered. But Barbara didn't quit. In the Batman Chronicles number 5, she reemerged as Oracle, hacking her way into a new kind of heroism. No capes, no acrobatics, just intelligence weaponized for justice. She became the spine of the superhero community, coordinating global missions, directing field ops, and making Batman look like a caveman with a flip phone. She sacrificed anonymity, relationships, and any semblance of normalcy to become the nerve center of the Bat family. While others leapt across rooftops, Barbara was tethered to screens and wires, watching, guiding, sacrificing her own life for $1,000. Her tragedy isn't just what she lost, it's how much more she had to give after. Barbara Gordon was broken, yes, but she built something greater from the ruins. Not Batgirl, not victim, Oracle. The mind that never stopped fighting, even when the body couldn't. Jason Todd. Jason Todd was the Robin Gotham never deserved, and the one it discarded. A street kid caught stealing in the Batmobile's hubcaps. He was raw, angry, and already carrying more pain than a child should. Bruce Wayne saw potential. The world saw liability. And in a death in the family, fans literally voted by a 72-vote margin to let the Joker kill him. And oh, did the Joker deliver. Crowbar to the skull, a warehouse explosion, and a mother's betrayal. Jason's final act? Trying to shield the very woman who sold him out. He died alone, bleeding, burning, because even in the end, he still wanted to save someone. But death wasn't the end. Comics are messy, and reality got punched thanks to Superboy Prime. Jason came back wrong. Revived by the Lazarus Pit, mind shattered, heart broken. The sidekick who once stood for hope returned as the Red Hood, Gotham's angriest ghost. He sacrificed everything to become something else. The vigilante who does flinch at pulling the trigger. When Batman clings to morality, Jason operates in the gray, waging war on criminals with bullets instead of batarangs. Every mission is a scream. You left me. Every corpse, a quiet vengeance. He could have been a hero. He was a hero. But the world didn't want Jason Todd to live. And when he did, he made sure he'd never be ignored again. Jason's tragedy isn't just that he died. It's that he came back, and no one knew how to love the boy he became. Jean Grey. Jean Grey didn't ask to be a god, but the cosmos made her one, and then watched her burn. Her tragedy began young, when she physically witnessed her best friend's death. That trauma cracked open her mutant mind, unlocking a deep well of telepathy and telekinesis, but also sowing the seeds of emotional overload. She was a child forced to feel everything all the time. Years later in X-Men 101, Jean took a fatal dose of radiation to save her teammates on a crashing shuttle. She should have died. Instead, the Phoenix Force, an ancient cosmic entity, resurrected her, amplifying her powers beyond comprehension. But absolute power does more than corrupt. It consumes. By Uncanny X-Men number 135, Jean had become the Dark Phoenix. No longer human, no longer Jean, just hunger in the shape of a woman. She devoured a star, wiped out a planet. Billions, gone in an instant. The girl who once cried over a single lost friend had become an extinction-level event. When her humanity resurfaced, Jean chose death. On the blue area of the moon, Uncanny X-Men number 137, surrounded by friends and lovers who couldn't stop her, she whispered goodbye and triggered a weapon that would end her once and for all. Not to save herself, but to save everyone else. She lost everything. Her identity, her love, her soul. All to stop the darkness she never asked for. Jean Grey's tragedy is cosmic in scale, but deeply human at its core. She was never the Phoenix. Just the girl who tried to hold it back and died when she couldn't. Frank Castle. Frank Castle is what happens when justice dies in the streets and leaves vengeance to pick up the pieces. A decorated Marine, father and husband, his life was obliterated when mob gunfire turned a family picnic into a massacre. Frank wasn't just a man undone by grief. He was reforged in it, kneeling beside the bullet-ridden bodies of Maria, Lisa, and Frank Jr. as something inside him snapped beyond repair. Punisher Year 1 shows what came next, the death of Frank Castle and the birth of the Punisher. He renounced law, faith, and even his own humanity, becoming a one-man war against crime. He shed his past like spent shell casings, trading comfort for combat and memory for mission. His crusade is absolute. He doesn't save, he eliminates. And while the world debates his methods, Frank never wavers. He doesn't want your forgiveness. He wouldn't accept it if offered. The real tragedy? He's not crazy. He's right. The system failed. The killers walked. And the only thing between them and more innocent blood is the man who's already lost everything. Frank Castle isn't seeking peace. He is the consequence. And he'll keep pulling the trigger until there's nothing left to aim at, including himself. Roy Harper. Roy Harper wasn't the golden boy of the Teen Titans. He was the cautionary tale with a bow. Born into tragedy on a native reservation, he lost his guardian, Big Bo, in a senseless liquor store robbery. Alone, grieving and broke, Roy's early life was a parade of abandonment, until Oliver Queen found him and offered a new path, crime fighting as Speedy. But being a sidekick doesn't pay the therapy bills, and Roy's inner demons didn't stay buried for long. In Green Lantern, Green Arrow number 85, the comic world shatters its innocence when Hal Jordan and Ollie found Speedy shooting up heroin in the basement. The teen hero who once fought supervillains had lost a quieter war to pain and addiction. Kicked out by Ollie, Roy didn't spiral, he plummeted. Withdrawal, street violence, sleepless nights, and all of it endured without a safety net. He eventually clawed his way back, barely, reinvented as Arsenal. He traded the boyish optimism for tactical armor and a mercenary's mindset. He lost his faith in mentors, watched too many friends die, and once even took on Killer Croc in what was basically a suicide mission. Ironically, Croc didn't kill him. Instead, he helped him recover. That's the kind of story Roy lives. Unpredictable, painful, and just shy of hope. Roy Harper is what happens when a hero breaks and doesn't quite fit back together. He didn't just survive addiction, he made survival his superpower. A father, a fighter, a failure, and still standing. He's the broken bow that still fires true. Mark Spectre. Mark Spectre is what happens when a broken soul is handed divine power and told to bleed for justice. Born into trauma, Mark endured a childhood haunted by guilt, loss, and abuse. His mother's wrath a twisted monument to a dead brother. Fleeing that pain, he joined the Marines, then became a mercenary, trading one battlefield for another until betrayal left him bleeding out beneath the Egyptian moon. Salvation came not from medicine or miracle, but from Khonshu, an ancient Mu god with a divine agenda. Mark awoke not just alive, but altered. Body stolen by a deity, soul carved into pieces. Stephen Grant, the suave financier, Jake Lockley, the streetwise cabbie, Mr. Knight, the white-suited detective, each identity a mask, and each mask a scar. His life is sacrifice on a loop. Sanity, relationships, and even a sense of self all burned on Khonshu's altar. And for what? A nightly war against street thugs, cultists, and monsters that may not even exist outside his fragmented mind. The cruelest part? He's not fighting for redemption. He doesn't believe he deserves it. Moon Knight isn't a symbol of justice. He's a walking wound in white, serving a god who may be real, or maybe just the voice in his head that tells him the pain has a purpose. Mark Grayson. Mark Grayson's life shattered the moment his father said, "I can always make another kid." Born to the world's greatest superhero, Mark dreamed of following in Omni-Man's footsteps, until his boots stomped a path of genocide through his childhood. In Invincible #8, Nolan slaughtered Earth's mightiest heroes, then nearly beat his own son to death for daring to defend humanity. That fight didn't just crack Mark's ribs, it broke his faith, his family, and the illusion that power meant protection. The trauma didn't stop there. As Invincible, Mark faced endless cosmic horrors, parasitic dimensions, Martian mind control, time-dilated torture, and a Viltrumite war that stole 5 years of his life. Every win came with a cost. He killed to survive, watched friends die, and bore the weight of decisions no teenager should face. Whether to let cities fall to save the galaxy, or whether mercy had a place in war, Mark Grayson's tragedy isn't that he was lied to. It's that becoming a hero required him to become something less than human. He sacrificed innocence, love, and even his moral compass in a universe where being strong enough to save the world also means being strong enough to break it. And somehow, he still tries to do better. That's not just invincible. That's unbearable. Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner wasn't made in a lab. He was broken at home. Long before gamma rays turned him green, his real trauma came in the form of his father, Brian Banner, a paranoid alcoholic who murdered Bruce's mother right in front of him in Incredible Hulk number 312. That moment split Bruce's psyche like glass under pressure, and the Hulk would be the monster that crawled out of the cracks. Years later, in Incredible Hulk number 1, Bruce tried to do the right thing, shoving a teenage Rick Jones out of a gamma bomb test zone. The bomb detonated, and Bruce didn't die, but something else was born. From then on, every moment of anger or stress ripped him into the Hulk, being of a brute force with none of Banner's control. Haunted by a rage Bruce never fully understood or escaped. He didn't just lose his body, he lost everything. His career vanished. Betty Ross, the love of his life, was constantly in danger. General Thunderbolt Ross haunted him like a weaponized ghost. And when Earth's smartest minds exiled him in Planet Hulk, Bruce was stranded in space, enslaved, and forced into brutal arena battles that killed his friends and nearly his sanity. Even when the world needed the Hulk, they feared Banner, trusted his mind, dismissed his soul. Bruce Banner's tragedy isn't that he becomes a monster. It's that he never stops being a man who remembers what it cost him. His existence is a constant act of penance, a brilliant mind shackled to a bomb he can't defuse, always trying to save others from the disaster that is himself. That's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Want more comic breakdowns? Check out this video right here. Cheers, and see you in the next one.